Hey everybody, it's Georgia Rose from Zenkuda, and this video is about Mars and the energy that's playing out in the world right now and where that's headed in the next few days. I'm recording this on September 30th, 2025, and we have some energy coming in. There's a full moon in Aries happening on the 6th, which I believe is Monday, and also energy is building right now. Mars is really influencing our sky. And a lot of people have been, questioning why is there so much violence happening? I know where I live in the United States, we've had some terrible mass shootings recently and some other violence that's happened. And I want to talk about that and how we can integrate that into our energies in a positive way. And also just, where we're at energetically and why things seem to be so speeded up. And so everything seems to be happening very quickly and accelerated right now. So Mars is in Scorpio, which I talked a little bit about on the Soul Space podcast the week before last. I've been doing every other Monday at 7 o'clock just for a little while because I'm working on my own alignments and I need some time to breathe. But I will be going back to a weekly show shortly. So Mars in Scorpio is an energy of transformation. Mars is our assertion, ambition. You'll always hear me talk about how Mars sometimes is the god of war. It rules Aries, but in Scorpio, it's also at home. It's the traditional ruler of the sign of Scorpio. And Scorpio Mars and Scorpio is an energy of deep diving. When Mars is in Scorpio, we have a tendency to be more contemplative. It brings up a lot of our past trauma energies because it wants us to work through them and integrate them. Mars in its highest octave is the energy of assertion for alignment with ourselves, our true purpose, our soul's desire. Because don't forget, Scorpio is also a sign ruled by Pluto. And Pluto is deep transformation. Mars right now in the sky is squaring Pluto in Aquarius, which means it's a conversation of tension. For those of you who aren't following astrology diligently or per se, what this means is we're at a time in the world energetically where Mars is activating past traumas in our lives. It's not doing that to hurt us. It's doing that so that we go into contemplation, introspection. Maybe lately you've been wanting to spend a little more time alone or a little more time thinking or trying to get what I call in alignment with yourself. But Mars in its highest form is that energy, the purpose of which is to put us in alignment, not only with ourselves, but also with our higher power, what energy has created us. It's to put us in alignment with ourselves and our soul's true desire in this lifetime. When it's working in conversation with the planet Pluto, which it's doing now, which it will be doing for a little while, it brings out the really deep things that are alignments with us. And let's face it, we're all living these lives where we have conflicts and things happen to us and things happen in the outside world. And we're like, how could this happen? This is such an awful thing, or this is so conflicting with my belief system. And we get emotional. And Mars is that energy that brings emotion up in a very eruptive way. Think of a volcano. Think of aggression, not just assertion. That's why it's the god of war. It brings all this stuff up. And in Scorpio, it's going to do that in a really active way because Scorpio is that deep energy within us that wants to be transformed. So now if you look at what's happening in the world, we have a lot of violence happening, a lot of conflicts happening because this energy is stewing. It's like someone stirring this big pot of dynamite or explosives or something that's just like very gaseous, right? And it does that, again, so that we transform the energy. So the shadow side of Mars that we're seeing in the world today is fear. Because when something starts to erupt and we hear the rumblings, and even within ourselves, we hear those rumblings of like, wow, I can't believe that really did happen to me. I'm just going to push it down and push it down. Or we're in a quiet place finally in our lives and we're like, wow, I have to unpack some of these things. And it brings us to a place of reliving trauma sometimes. And there are souls on this planet who aren't brave enough to walk through that journey. And so the way they deal with their emotions is to act out, as they're erupting and coming out, they just want to push them onto something or someone else. And that's why we see this violence in the world right now. And as witnesses to these things, they can be very disruptive to us and very disruptive to our journeys of our own alignment with ourselves, with a higher power, with our soul's desire, with our soul space, right? And we can become depressed or disillusioned or angry or alienated from the world. But the reason why these things are all happening isn't to bring us to that shadow side of Mars and Scorpio energy. The reason why all these things are happening is so that instead of looking at them externally, we see them, we witness them, but we don't have to engage in them so that they affect us and our own alignment. The way to observe and see these things is with compassion, obviously, empathy, obviously, but also go within and ask yourself, how is this really affecting me? Not in an angry, I want to act out and go protest and put a post on Facebook about how awful this is, but in a way of, what is it awakening in me that is spirit, creator, God, whatever you call your higher power, showing me I need to pay attention to? So, we just had the Charlie Kirk assassination, and some other things happen in my country here. There's things going on all over the globe, Gaza and Russia and Ukraine and all these things, violence everywhere, right? But the point of this is not so that we go into violence and we go into anger and we start throwing our own emotions and wounds all over the pavement and other people so that we can feel at peace. Let's just get rid of it and then I'll feel better, right? No, the purpose of experiencing these things is to say, what is that awakening in me? What are the emotions I'm feeling? Where is this anger coming from? And what is it really about? Is it about injustice? Is it about I can't stand to watch someone suffering because I have suffered in my life and I've never addressed that? Is it I can't stand to watch the violence because violence is done to me, or I fear violence because I have an irrational fear of something happening, and where is that coming from? There's a reason why we all process things differently and why we all grieve differently and why we are all in different emotions at any given moment, because we all have different experiences and we all have lived different experiences, and our soul has experienced different things throughout many lifetimes. So we're all not going to react the same to things. We've all been everything at one time or another in every life, but we don't always remember that. But we do have an inner knowing of it. The soul never dies. So when these things are experienced by us in the three-dimensional world, we can become very emotional. But are we allowing ourselves and giving ourselves permission to sit with those emotions and process them and integrate them so that we become more evolved and in our higher power? When we look at these things and we say, wow, I'm just so angry over this happening, or I want to go out and, do violence, or, we're yelling at people because of something we saw on the news. Well, that's when we need to go home and sit in the quiet and really try and say hi to our soul space and say, why am I feeling this? I don't want to be this aggressive person. I don't want to be this depressed person. Why am I crying at the drop of a hat? Why are these emotions all coming to the surface? And that's the energy we're in on the planet right now. And as we approach a full moon in Aries on Monday, October 6th to 7th, it's late at night, these energies are even heightened more because Aries is ruled by Mars. And Mars is that energy that wants us to go into our alignment. Mars wants us to align with our belief systems, finding out what those really authentically are for us. And it wants us to align our soul with the reason it came here, whatever that may be for you. And I can guarantee that all souls came here to hold a place of compassion in the world in some way. And it starts with being compassionate enough for ourselves, allowing ourselves to go home and close the door and sit down and say, yeah, this stuff happened and it sucks and I need to process it. Because it's all these unprocessed stuff and all this unprocessed emotion that's causing all this acceleration and all this energy swirling around us and chaos in the world. When we sit and process those things, we don't find ourselves so engaged in them into a point where they're affecting us negatively. We can see the upside of things and we can see how they relate to us doing our own work in our own space, in our own minds and hearts and bodies and souls. And that's the energy that's coming in now. Now we have the full moon coming in Aries, ruled by Mars. Mars is playing a really big part in this full moon. And it's also in the Aries-Libra axis of the chart. So what does that mean in our real lives? Well, Libra is our relationship with others, and Aries is our relationship with ourselves. But in context to what I'm talking about here, it's the relationship we have with our direction, with where we're taking up space. What do we want to do in our lives? How are the things around us affecting us? And the highest octave of Mars and Scorpio, Mars in general, and Aryan energy is, what do I need to release and let go of in order to not live in my past trauma? Where do I need to move forward and emerge in a new way, in a new paradigm, a new way of loving, a new way of communicating, a new way of being in the world that surpasses the old way, where I can expand love, expand compassion, expand my relationships. And that starts with that Aries full moon and the Libra Aries axis. That starts with, once again, being in contemplation. What is my soul really feeling? When I watch this thing unfold around me, whether it's within my own little, place in the world, my own little corner of the world, or whether I'm watching something unravel and unpack something that's global. How is it affecting me? And why was I born at exactly this time to witness this? My soul wanted to do this. What was the reason? What is it showing me? Pretty deep stuff. But if we don't take the time to allow ourselves permission to be in the depth of our emotion, then we all end up, as you see in the world, in chaos, throwing our emotions everywhere because we just don't want to deal with them. And I'm sure we all have someone in our family or our workplace or in our friend group or sphere that is like that. Nobody really wants to be around them. Everyone feels a little sorry for them. And they're just very, very difficult people. That's someone that needs to sit with themselves, but sometimes they can't. And so that's where traditional forms of therapy come in, traditional forms of healing, and also the way that I believe with energetic healing. That's why I do astrology. For me, astrology is my roadmap. For me, astrology is my belief system. It's my way of life. As I just explained to you from, an astrological perspective, the energy in the world, you can relate in some way to that energy, whether you're an astrologer or not. It's my belief system. It's the core of me. When you become very deep in that belief system, everything has a correlation to the planets and the stars. That's my belief system. But maybe yours is something else. Some people get that alignment with their soul through plants and through nature, through organized religion, through a different belief system, Kabbalah and yoga and Buddhism and Episcopalian and being, Judaism and being in Catholicism or whatever it might be. But we have to have faith and believe in something. And that's the highest octave of the Aryan full moon that's coming in, the Mars in Scorpio squaring Pluto, the planet of transformation. The highest octave of all of these energies currently swirling around the planet right now is alchemy, change, transformation, none of which we can do unless we have faith in something. We have to believe in something. The people that we're seeing in chaos, doing violence, throwing their emotions all over the sidewalks, they're people who are faithless, and they need our compassion. And while we might not be able to help them and guide them, what we can do is send them the energy of faith. And by living in the most highest light we can, and every day finding what is on our hearts and working with it, and going into our own emotions and processing them so that they become light and from the dark. By doing that, we can send that energy out to all of the people who are faithless and lost, that maybe they find faith and they go into their own transformation. And that's how the world becomes a better place, by the evolution of the human species. And we are the only species on the planet that is responsible for our own evolution. Every other species, animal form, from the four-legged to the fin to the two-legged to the furred, every other species evolves through either an environmental or some kind of an order that is out of their control. We humans have the control of evolution. It's a choice within ourselves to go into our soul space and process what our soul is showing us in this lifetime, whether we're witnessing that globally or within our own personal experience. And when we do that, we evolve our consciousness, our soul, and we become in alignment with why we're all really here. So I hope you'll take this to heart. And if you want to deeper dive in this and how it actually unfolds for your chart, just call me. You can, go on my website, zenkuda.com, and we can do a personal deep dive. I am a psychic astrologer. I have the gift of psychic ability, which I believe we all have, just needs to be developed in our quiet time with our soul space. I read a chart psychically. So if you're looking for a private reading, let's dive in. Love to work with you. I also do coaching for alignment, and I'm here at zenkuda.com. I'm also on the Soul Space every Monday night at 7, every other week so far this month for October, and then I'll probably be back every week. Just need to do some alignment work on myself every once in a while so I can be the best I can be for my content and, going out in the world. My North Node in Leo wants me to shine my solar light. That doesn't necessarily mean I need to do that in front of 1,000 people. It means I need to do that in alignment with myself. So every once in a while, I take a little time to just do that and get myself back on track. So if you're looking for me, zenkuda.com, on Facebook, Zenkuda Soul Space, on Instagram, Zenkuda Official. And of course, there's over 200 videos on Zenkuda on YouTube, so you can visit with me anytime. Thank you so much for supporting my work. If you believe in this, let's spread the light, share my videos, share my content, and also share your own soul light today in some way. Thanks so much. I'll be back with a full moon report, probably in a day or two, and I'll see you on Zenkuda then.